scary because I said in an interview before, one of the largest meth drug bus, was on my reservation. And some of my family was involved in that particular problem out there. And all the reservations, the poverty level, the post-traumatic stress level, where do I start? But all the problems that we have, poverty, everything that we have, is just inviting. Because the meth is so easy to make, it's so easy to sell, it's so much money to make, it just alleviates problems for certain people, you know, kind of like the casinos we're talking about. You know, for some people it's good, but for a lot of people it's not. So unfortunately the problem is growing rapidly among our people and among my people, not only here in Utah, but all over the United States, Canada, and Mexico. It's a growing problem. And it's a way for people to get money, and it's a way for people to get some prestige and status and build themselves up in their self-esteem. And it's all the needed elements are there for all the needed mental health elements that are also needed for them. So it's sad, it is. It's important we get back to our traditional philosophies and our traditional ways, because that's the only way we're going to make it through. Even in the middle 1600s, our leaders were saying, alcohol, that was a big back then. Alcohol is not our way. The dark water, that's not our way. And we need to get back to listening and hearing those words. These drugs are not our ways. Yes, we use peyote, but we use peyote in a sacred way, not in a way of recreation like so many people are using it, like this meth is being used now, like all these other drugs are being used now. So we need to get back to the sacred part of our whole way of life, the sacred part of our traditional philosophies. If we could get back to that, the spirituality, then I think we could start looking at and start to really put together some strong programs. Because our old people back in the 1700s, that's what they fell back on, was their traditions. A lot of our old leaders back then, mostly in the East, Black Hawk, not the Black Hawk here in Utah, but the Black Hawk back in your country, in Iowa and Shawnee, actually. He was one that said, hey, stay away from that stuff. It makes you less a man. It teaches you not to hunt, teaches you not to take care of your family, teaches you not to take care of yourself. It destroys who you are. And that's basically what is true today, 300 years later. We get into meth, we get into alcohol, we get into cocaine, we get into all these things. It destroys us as men and women. We forget our children, we forget our cultures, we forget our lifestyles, we forget everything we've ever known or learned. And so the sad part is, we're looking for what we're giving up. And that's what's hard and that's what's sad. And yet, does the government see that? No. And that those are the people who are supposedly taking care of our needs, taking care of our health needs, taking care of our education needs, taking care of our families, our livelihoods, these kinds of things. So if we can get the governments, city, county, state, regional, federal, to start looking at their traditions, because they have families. They also have these values, but somehow those values have been overshadowed by the dollar signs, by the prestige and power that's found in the money. And they've lost all their basic values for this money value. And too many times it's been transferred to us as Native peoples through our schooling, through our post-traumatic stress experiences. We are, many of us, tertiary, quaternary recipients of post-traumatic stress. Because of the Indian Wars back in the 1870s, we're still suffering that post-traumatic stress. That's why it's easy for us to get into the drinking, the drugging, those kinds of things. We're masking. We're self-medicating. We know all these things. But again, we're not allowed to practice our ceremonies. We're not allowed to practice our spirituality. We're not allowed to practice a lot of these things. It's not cool anymore. So again, start with the families. Then start with the clans. And a lot of the clans are families. Start at those basic groups. Then go into the governments and say, hey, because even the Caucasian brothers and sisters that we have families. have clans. And that's what we need to get back to, is that family-oriented idea, back to that spirituality idea. Because the Creator made 4 fingers on this hand, but he also made 4 colors: red, white, black, and yellow. And our old prophecies say that when these colors come together, we're going to overcome all of these problems that we're faced with. But the spirituality has to come when these 4 get together. Which means, as federal governments, state governments, county governments, all these colors have to pull together for us as a people to survive our own philosophies and ideologies. And that's pretty hard to do. To ask somebody to all of a sudden give something up for something that's kind of intangible. Money, yeah, you can feel it. You can put it in your pocket. Family, oh yeah, they're there, but sometimes they're the ones that are stabbing you in the back. You know? Spirituality, where is it? Where do you feel it? You can't. But those are the things that we need. That idea of family, of spirituality, of support. And when we get that, then we can start pulling together as a people. And meth and all these other problems are going to be taken away, like the old people said.